It takes something to admit when you're wrong. It takes a certain strength of character. And I'm here in front of you today admitting that I have got something wrong. Because many years ago when I first heard that Cupra was to become a standalone brand, I genuinely thought it was going to be a big mistake. I thought it would be a flight of fancy for a couple of years that would eventually just fizzle out and would once again appear on the back of a hot Seat a few years into the future. Boy, did I get that wrong. Because as a standalone brand, Cupra has become quite the success story. And don't think that they are just performance badged versions of Seats, because they've got models in their own right. Of course, there's the Cupra Born, there's the Formentor, there's the Terramar. And the thing about Cupra is with their concepts, they tend to come true. The Tavascan concept we saw now as a full production EV. And of course, the Urban Rebel is going to set the stall out as being another small sporting Cupra. And this one? Well, I wouldn't bet against this concept seeing the road at some point. Welcome to this week's edition of First Looks. Welcome to the new Cupra Tindaya Concept. Please sit yourself down, make yourself comfortable in the house of cars. Now, the thing about concept cars is most people see them as fruitless flights of fancy on a motor show stand that show what could be achieved if they were let off the leash, not what can be achieved within normal manufacturing constraints. But Cupra are slightly different, and one of the things that I found quite interesting with the press release with the new Tindaya was rather than go straight into talk about the design ethos and where it could all got inspiration from and how the design shows a new way forward for Cupra, it started talking about the mechanicals, it started talking about drivetrain, it started talking about the way the car will actually drive with the driver at the forefront. And that's interesting for me because it doesn't come along with loads of different hyperbole about, infinite number of horsepower and silly battery sizes and such like that. Everything that this car is made up from things that are currently in production. And for me, that is a real telltale sign of what could be, and dare I suggest probably will be, coming from the Cupra brand in the very near future. As I say, we've seen it before with their concept cars that have made it straight onto the road. So the Tindaya might not just be a pipe dream. It might be something that you can actually buy sooner than you rather think. But look, before we get into all of that, let's take a walk around the car, show you a bit about the design of it, and then talk about those mechanicals to give you an idea of what we could possibly see from the Cupra brand. But before I do all that, do the usual stuff like, like, subscribe and comment, and we'll get that out of the way now. Okay, you done all that? Perfect. Let's make a start. After saying all of that, let's start with the styling of the car. Now, first of all, the name, however, Tindaya. It's a volcanic mountain in Fuerteventura in the Canary Islands, and of course Cupra being the Spanish brand, that's part of their area, and their naming structure takes inspiration from geographical locations from where the brand comes from. So that's where we get the name from. Now at the front of the car you'll see a lot of similarities with current production Cupras, and it does point towards a new design direction for it, but there's a lot of familiarity here, starting with the logo of the car, which is embedded into the bonnet here, and as you can see it's actually illuminated. But they talk a lot about the animal instinct of it and the car coming to life, because you can see all these lights as they start to light up. It's like the car's being awakened. And of course you get your open shark mouth down here, and of course your triangular theme with the lights that are up here as well, which again is a current Cupra design theme. There's a huge talk of sustainability with the car, and it's not just from the point of view of the interior materials, but new materials that they've used in the actual construction of the bodywork of the car as well. And there's a lot of transparent work down here. It's weird because until you see it, you don't realise. But this is actually a transparent material that's in this section here that actually has lights behind it. But then as it flows from transparent into actually body colour here, it gives the car life. It gives the car, dare I suggest, a face. It's quite aggressive looking, isn't it? And of course with the bonnet you've got these twin spines that run up here to form a sort of Y shape, which will then flow across at the back into these windscreen pillars and go up. Now obviously we'll move around the side of the car so you can see the sort of style of the car that it is. But as I say, at the front what you've got is something with the current Cupra design language, but moving the game on. But for me, it's really muscular at the front. I love the way these sort of like just literally peel out of the bonnet and ridge up and then just disappear towards the back of the bonnet. There's these sections here as well, which actually, although they won't open on the concept, they hint to probably some storage plus some charging elements of the car. Now, as I say, the mechanical aspect of this car is quite important because it sits on what's called the SSP platform from Volkswagen Group, and it will also not just run in battery electric vehicle, but this is also going to be available as a hybrid as well. But as I say, that's for a little bit later. So let's carry on with the design walk around and see what we think. So, scalable systems platform, what does that mean? Well, it's from Volkswagen Group, the parent group of Cupra. And like its name suggests, it's a modular platform that can be scaled to suit different sizes of cars. And the Tindaya is 4.7 metres long, which puts it slightly longer than their current large production car, the Terramar. Now, they've hinted that there could be an entrance into the US market. So with a car of this size, that would certainly probably be the car that we would enter in if we were to see it in production form. Who knows? It's obviously a sort of coupe style crossover, as everything seems to be sort of like these days, but it's a bit more than that. There's a bit more athleticism to this car as well. And it's the interesting use of materials along the side that it really interests me. 23-inch alloy wheels, which, to be fair, aren't huge wheels in terms of current production cars. So again, scaling those down to maybe say 21 or 22 inches is possible. But look at this separation here with the wing here, with the wheel arch there into the top of the wing. And there's actually two colours at work here. So you've got this sort of like this metallic grey finish here, this stormy grey, meant to sort of like symbolise the Atlantic Ocean, which then blends into this more earthy sort of brown colour here of the sort of like the mountainous regions that the Tindaya mountain sits in. And then here we've got this B-comp material here, which is a sustainable version of carbon fibre, if you will, that's made from different type of plant-based materials, which are then compressed to form a style of carbon fibre style material. It's very lightweight and it gives it another texture to the car, and obviously it's very sustainable as well. There's some beautiful sculpting going on down the side here and this very high sort of like ride height, but this area here that gives you this sort of like almost sort of like rock formation going down the side of the car, but then some nice very crisp and clean lines that come along here. But then at the top what you have is this sort of like almost like spine roof rail, if you like, where it's taken from the windscreen pillar that comes up and then over the car, again hinting at that sort of coupe style crossover like the current Formentor is, and then comes back into this beautifully sort of like sharp rear spoiler of the car. It is a four-door car, it is a four-door crossover. Obviously there's no external handles on the concept because obviously they open in a slightly different way because they're sort of like suicide. But again, here's this transparent material here. So again, going from body colour here into this transparent material that's down the side here, gets a really clever and innovative use of materials, and I really think that's quite clever with it. And it doesn't stop round the side because there's more of it round the rear of the car. Now, around the rear of the car, you'll see a lot more of that sculptured work that I was talking about, especially with the new light signature. And of course, Cupra lighting signature has been synonymous with sort of like the triangular design like we saw at the front, and it's translated across into the back with almost these like dagger-like rear lights that are across here. And they protrude quite a bit out of the bodywork, again, almost as if they're being framed by little bits of metal there. Your illuminated Cupra logo bang in the centre with the lettering underneath, and again that B-comp material that flows right across the rear tailgate of the car. But then you've got the bodywork colour down here, that earthy brown tone, and more of that sort of like sculptured work at the diffuser. As I say, it's like rock almost formations that are protruding out to the back there. Good aero work because obviously it's letting airflow around from the wheel arches and taking air pressure out of there, plus this big diffuser area that allows airflow underneath the car, and into this big flowing fastback here with a heavy like pointed rear roof spoiler. None of this looks like a big flight of fancy for me. A lot of this you can, when you see the concept right up close like I am, you can visualise in a production car. None of this, dare I suggest, would look too out of place if it was just toned down a little bit on your local high street. I think they're really hitting the mark with the design of Cupra at the moment. They've really sort of like pushed themselves away from their humble beginnings of being that sort of like sporting Seat sort of like performance tag to being a performance car manufacturer in their own right, and they're bringing that performance work design into cars that are such as SUVs, crossovers, family cars like this. There was a time when we used to think of sort of family cars as being a bit boring and humdrum in design. Well, Cupra's setting their stall out to say that they needn't be. They can be as dramatic looking as supercars, but as practical as family cars. But look, that's my opinion, and what's that worth? What do you think? Yes, it's a concept, but are you a Cupra driver at the moment? Do you have a Formentor? Do you have a Taviscan or a Born or an Ateca? What do you think of the Tindaya? Could you see yourself driving a toned down version of this sometime in the future? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, this might sound a bit weird to get excited about seats, but I am quite excited about this because one of the design classics I love is the Eames lounge, the Eames chair. And that's exactly the inspiration that Cupra have taken for this new sort of like cup seat, if you like. And it's a lot of it, again, is formed with this sort of like B-comp material around the back and obviously underneath then, but with a sustainable vegan leather covering on it. And again, the transparency as that moves up into this sort of like backrest there, where again you've got some nice interior ambient lighting which is able to be changed as well. So it gives a real character to the seat. And I know that sounds really, really odd because when you sit in it, well, you can't really see it. But I think the fact that they've taken this sort of care and attention over something just as simple as the seats shows the sort of design intent that they've got for the rest of the car, which I'll now show you. Now, this is a really important piece of the interior here. This is called the Dual. And basically this will control, for want of a better word, the driving environment and the driving modes of the car. And there are 3 of them. And what you've basically got here is immersive. So this is when you just need to get somewhere. You just need to use it as a car. You've got sort of very minimal instrumentation. You've got sort of like quite nice relaxed ambient lighting around it. You don't need too much involvement from you and the car. But then what you move to is what they call rider by pressing down here, and that changes things now. So from going from immersive to rider, pressed the wrong way, what you now get is much more instrumentation. You now get much more sort of like involvement from the car for you as the driver. So this is for a much more sort of like aggressive, a sportier style of drive. And then of course your last one, which is on this side here, if I've got this one right, is called Meta. And this is the sort of like the connected mode, if you like, where you've got much more sort of like things, you know, through sort of like social media. You can now see you've got this secondary display across the base of the windscreen, which will also sort of like, you know, bring you up some certain things such as apps, your connected form. You could possibly sort of like, you know, ask it to take you to a restaurant or connect with other people as well through this one as well. And it changes again the whole ambience of the interior. So again, one of the key sort of like phrases that Cupra are using is no driver, no Cupra. They're not interested in autonomy, they're interested in putting the driver still front and centre of their cars. And you can see that in the interior of the Tindaya. Now again, on the interior it's a 2+2, so again you can see it as like pretty much as a concept car, but it wouldn't be hard to imagine this as sort of like a larger style of coupe crossover, much in the same vein as the Formentor. But what you have is this central spine that runs down in the centre of the car here, and again it's using a lot of these innovative and sustainable materials as it goes from the more sort of like harder edge just like at the back and flowing through to the softer style of material at the front. And of course then you've got the central spine that runs up and then round, but of course when this door is closed it then envelops the driver almost in a cockpit style. So whilst obviously there's enough room for driver and obviously front occupant as well, it's putting the driver front and foremost of the whole experience with this yoke style of steering wheel, which is a sort of, if you like, it's been a sort of like a collaboration from taking inspiration from the aircraft industry, but also from the gaming industry as well. And we're seeing that a lot more on cars. Obviously, as we move towards more interaction with computers and screens as such, on the interior of cars, it's not uncommon to see this style of interactive style of steering wheel with the buttons and things. But again, it's not all controlled through screens. It's all got buttons, physical buttons on the steering wheel, right in front and foremost for the driver. Again, focusing very much on the performance and keeping the driver front and centre. Now, this is the interesting bit of this car for me, the drivetrain, because the concept, they say, is available with 2 different types of powertrains. It could be a full battery electric vehicle, or it could be a serial range extended electric vehicle. Now, what does that mean? Well, a range extended electric vehicle uses a combustion engine to actually power or to put charge into the battery to then power the electric motors. And we've seen this in production cars up until now with things such as the BMW i3 range extender and of course the Mazda MX-30 REV as well. But again, it's not some silly flighty fancy engine that they're putting in this car. They're talking about it being the Volkswagen Group's 1.5 litre TSI turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. And that then is mated to 2 electric motors, one at the front and one at the back, so all-wheel drive. And if we look at the proposed power figures, they're not ridiculous. They're talking of power outputs of 496 PS, a 0 to 60 time of 4.1 seconds. That's not daft pie in the sky figures. That's achievable today using something like that 1.5 TSI unit at the front. Now, what they're talking about here is it may give the car a range of up to 1,000 kilometres using it as a range extended vehicle. Or if you're in proper money terms, that means 620 miles. In terms of electric only driving, so once it's put charge into the battery to then actually drive the wheels to get the car moving, you could do an electric only range of 186 miles on the car. Now, the range extender technology means that the engine doesn't drive the wheels at all. That's a plug-in hybrid. A range extender vehicle uses the combustion engine purely to put charge into the battery, and it's the battery that then drives the motors. But as I say, we've seen it in production cars so far. So will we see it in a production Cupra? I think we're going to. There's a really interesting phrase in the press release for Tindaya, and it's simply this: no driver, no Cupra. There's no talk of autonomy with this car. There's a huge amount of talk, however, of putting the driver right at the heart of it. And I think that's really key for what the Cupra brand stands for. But they're doing it in a sustainable and yet still enjoyable way. If this is the future of performance cars, then Cupra still want the driver to be involved in that. They still make the driver be part of the whole experience. They're not taking anything away from us as drivers. If anything, they're adding more to it. And with the drivetrain that they're talking about in this car, then they're talking about it happening, dare I suggest, sooner rather than later. Now, if all of that goes against the grain of what a lot of the industry is doing at the moment, then it would make Cupra seem a little bit rebellious. And that's exactly what they want. And that's exactly what they're being. And it's for that reason, and that reason alone, that I'm glad that I got it so wrong. Thank you for watching another first look on House of Cars. As always, please make sure you are subscribed to the House of Cars channel. And then when you've done that, make sure you press the little bell button that's down below so you get alerted when the next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you've enjoyed this very, very quick walk around of the Tindaya concept, then of course make sure you give it a little thumbs up, and don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you like the future of Cupra? Do you like what they're doing? Can you see this in your local Cupra showroom in a couple of years' time? Because I certainly can. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Have you got a Cupra at the moment? Are you driving a Fermenter? Remember, if you are, there's lots of reviews of Cupra product on the House of Cars channel if you're interested in becoming a Cupra owner. Now, if you want to follow me across on Instagram, you're more than welcome, and it's at House of Cars 1973. And remember, whether or not it is a new car or an old car, a small car or a large car, a slow car or a fast car, you'll find them all here in the House of Cars. Thanks once again for watching. Thank you for your continued support. I'll see you again soon.